Okay, good afternoon, class. Now, today, what we are going to talk about is the competitive advantage that happens at the personal level of in an organization. Okay, so let's go into more details about it. Like, what is the need for personal level advantage? The first thing before we go about, we just had talk a little on sustainable competitive advantage. Like sustainable competitive advantage, what is it? It's, as we know, it's a company's assets, attributes, or abilities that are difficult to duplicate or exceed, and they provide a superior or favorable long-term position over competitors. Right, and this sustainable competitive advantage depends on the personal intelligence of individual employees, right? So what we can say is that intelligence, when we talk of intelligence, it talks about, in common language, it talks about how smart or how intelligent or how clever you are, right? And when we talk of personal intelligence, the first thing that comes up is intelligence quotient, or IQ, which is the measure of your intelligence and is expressed in a number. It tells you, like it's a test that has been done, and you get a score on your particular intelligence test, which is compared to your age group, uh, where the test has a mean score of 100 points and a standard deviation of 15 points. So it's a measure of a person's reasonable reasoning ability. So which actually tells us how well someone can actually use information and logic to answer questions or make predictions. Okay, and it actually IQ, when we talk of IQ, it attributes only to about 20% to the factors that determine life success, which leaves 80% to the other factors, right? Now, people with high IQ, they have the following characteristics: logical and analytical ability, inquisitiveness, problem solving skills, interest in reading and using language effectively, extraordinary memory with numbers and words, perfectionism, long attention span. Okay, so which is what we say IQ helps in measuring the ability to grasp, retain, and recall factual knowledge. The next thing that comes up is EQ, that is emotional quotient, which is talking about yourself, sensitivity to feel change in your environment, and also to estimate time, empathy, communication skill, courageous to confess to your mistakes, respect diversity. So it measures the ability to understand and manage people, situation, emotions, challenge, and challenges in a mature way. People who are having a high EQ, they exhibit and they can express their feelings very clearly and directly. Okay, then they are not dominated by negative emotions like fear, worry, guilt, shame, and so on and so forth. And these are some of the characteristics of high EQ. They are able to read non-verbal communication, balance feelings with reason, logic, reality. They are independent, self-reliant, morally autonomous. They are internally self-motivated. They are not motivated by power, wealth, right? They are more influenced by fame, relationship, approval by other. They're always people and group smart, who work well in groups, teams, best in making relationships and maintaining them, and they're emotionally expressive yet resilient. The third type of measurement is physical quotient, which is our body, talking of body. Okay, so which indicates the capacity to work through situations through our physical proofs, which means the effective and efficient use of our hand eyes communication, coordination, communication, kind of skill and flawless fluidity demonstrated, which is seen by fighters, performers, sportsmen, so on and so forth. There's another factor which is called creativity quotient, which actually talks about the elements of creativity. Now, people with creativity are fluent thinker, able to generate possibilities, consequence, create ideas. They are flexible thinkers. They are original as thinkers. They often display intellectual playfulness. They are sensitive to beauty. They are versatile in using their multiple senses. We have something called adversity quotient, which is the understanding and measurement of human resilience and capacity to live, work, deal with unavoidable and undesirable. circumstances like stress, trauma, tragedy. So which tells how you're stable and whether, to what extent you're stable, and whether you're able to keep yourselves cool, harmonious, yet having human composure. It also talks about maintaining human a healthy level of physical and psychological functions even in when there is chaos. We have something called spiritual intelligence. Spiritual intelligence is the foundation from the three quotients which we just spoke. It helps us to stock our principles, values, and connect our soul and our beliefs and our purposes in life. And it actually expands the horizon of human ego. It expands and harmonizes the horizon of human awareness and influence to the largest possible dimensions, which are all inclusive. Okay, in fact, SQ is the foundation for an effective use of IQ, EQ, CQ, AQ. So people with high SQ, they are flexible, tolerant, self-awareness, broad, inclusive approach, ability to go through all the challenges with poise and equanimity, ability to understand both human, social, as well as natural situation very easily and able to handle them well, ability to inspire by a vision, ability to see connection between diverse things, and desire and capacity to cause as little harm as possible, promote well being, harmony for all. They have a tendency to probe and ask fundamental questions about everything. They have an ability to go against conventions. So, these are the areas which companies look into while recruiting, selecting, training, and orienting the employees for specific job profile in an organizational structure of the company. Right? So, next comes up is personal development. Personal development as professionals in organizations. Right? So, personality is one of the core factor of a professional, along with the other requisites, that is knowledge, attitude, communication, and competitiveness. Mm, we are talking about competitiveness and behavior. So, personality is the basic requirement which directly or indirectly envelopes the other factors. So, personality development is a must for any professional in any professional institution or organization for competitive advantage. So, it's a collection of personality is a collection of characteristic thoughts, feelings, behaviors that are associated with a person. Now, when we talk of personality development, so it's a improvement in all the spheres of an individual's life, with friends, office, environment, wherever we talk of, right? So the progress and insistence on quality of education, uh, uh, along with the rapid strides in the spread of knowledge, that calls for equally developed and able recipients. So, when we, for a definite need is felt for a well developed personality in our life, in our workplace, and a well integrated personality, what is it? It's a sum total of harmonious expressions of all these five dimensions. Okay. So, what are the five dimensions are involved in forming the desired human personality as individuals? As per the ancient theory, what are these five dimensions? Physical self, energy self, intellectual self, mental self, blissful self. What is when we say physical self? It talks about our senses, right? Proper nourishment and growth of physical faculties is essential, right? How through proper diet, recreation, music, care, concern, then comes up is the energy self, which is where we talk of relates to metabolism and the cross manifestations of energy. Intellectual self talks about our discriminative power and knowledge. Uh, so then comes up our mental self, which talks about related to stress and psychology. Blissful self talks about the state of being. Okay, calls of remembering to remaining calm and unaffected. So, personality traits in organizational context. So, in terms of organization, in the first five personality traits, what are this? It's neuroticism, extroversion, openness to experience, agreeableness, and conscientiousness. Conscientiousness. Okay. personality traits. So which is called the big five model of personality traits. So it's sometimes called ocean or canon, right? So although personality traits cannot specifically predict the behavior or differences in the five big factors help us to understand why people react differently, behave differently, see differently, right? To openness, to conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, neuroticism. So when we talk of extroversion, friendliness, these are the examples: gregarious, assertiveness, activity level, excitement, speaking, cheerfulness. Agreeable, trust, morality, cooperation, sympathy. Conscientious, conscientiousness, self-efficacy, orderliness, duty, achievement, self-discipline, cautious. Neuroticism is anger, anxiety, depression, self-consciousness, vulnerability, openness to experience, that is imagination, artistic interest, emotionality, adventurousness, and so on and so forth. So, elements of personal development. There are various elements a professional needs to consider for personality development, right? So, what are these things? What are these the ingredients that are for a balanced personality? What are these things that is needed to have knowledge to perform responsibilities effectively, attitude to excel in performing responsibilities, behavior to be a good professional and responsible citizen, competitiveness to sustain the pressures in your workplace, communication to make and understand things better, competency to know and display your strength, right? So these are the factors that these are the things that we have, right? These are the factors that we just spoke. Okay, so personality development, it helps in becoming a good professional and a genuine individual, a citizen. And through though personality gets changed, it gets changed throughout our lifespan, through experiences, through our learning, through incidences. Now, what happens is a professional facing challenges every day in his or her life, right? So that results in changes in our personality, right? So to accomplish personality developmental aspects, what you have to do, these are the things that you need to do. So to be a good better listener, to read more and expand your interest, be a good conversationalist, have an opinion, meet new people, be yourself and motivate yourself, have a positive outlook and attitude. Then we have see the true and correct view of life, be supportive of others, have integrity and treat people with respect, believe in your own strong points, work on an effective body language, work on the weaker areas. Okay, next comes up is professional attitudes for competitive advantage. Now, attitudes refers to feelings, beliefs, and behavior. It talks about as behavior disposition directed towards people, groups, ideas, or objects, right? And so it influences the behavior of the individuals. It decides how to act or behave in a particular way. So everything in an organization will be better if the attitude of the individual gets better. Attitudes, if it can be favorable or unfavorable about certain things, and they reflect about how we feel, right? So it can positively or negatively affect our behavior. Now every attitude has three components, right? That are it can what are these three components, which is called the ABC model of attitudes. A means affective, B for behavior, C for cognitive. And so although every attitude has these three components, any particular attitude can be based on one component more than the other. It's not equal. So firstly, what happens when we talk of affective component, it refers to the emotional reaction one has towards an attitude object, right? So affective, when we talk of affective. Now, next component when we talk of behavioral component is which refers to the way one behaves when exposed to a particular attitude object. And when we talk of cognitive component, it talks about person's beliefs, knowledge about that thing. So affective is emotional, behavioral is the way you behave, and cognitive is your belief. So these are the components of an attitude. So we said cognitive, affective, behavior, and which can result in negative attitude towards your supervisor. It happens. This is an example of it, right? So formation or sources of attitude. As I said, attitude is a general and lasting positive or negative opinion or feeling about some person, objective, or issues. So it can be, they has three foundations, as I said: cognitive or conditioning, observational learning, and direct experiences. Right? Conditioning is can be classical conditioning and operant operant conditioning. What is classical conditioning? So it's a form of learning whereby a conditioned stimulus becomes associated with an unrelated conditional stimulus. Okay, whereas operant conditioning is a method of learning that occurs through rewards and punishments for behavior. Right, so see this: attitude formation, conditioning, observational, and direct. And conditioning can be classical and operational, operated conditioning. So, behavior, if you see this, what happens? How does our behavior get related? Culture, faith, education, experience, more mentors, that affects our beliefs, which results in our values, which results in the way our attitudes and ultimately our behavior. Okay, so that's all that we have for you here. So if you have any questions, please let me know in class. Otherwise, that's all that we have today. Okay.